In a historic decision, the centre increases paid maternity leave from 12 weeks to 26 weeks. Also, companies with more than 50 employees will have to set up a creche. The move will benefit nearly 1.8 million women in India. Despite a debt of 3.6 lakh crore, Maharashtra government readies to splurge 4,600 crore rupees on memorials to Shivaji, Bal Thackeray and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. 2 days after Shiv Sena goons turn moral police, protest erupts in Kochi. Activists say stop this moral policing. Now Kiss of Love protest begins in Kerala again. You're watching The Big Story. I'm Amita Balachandra. Straight up good news for mothers across India. What comes as a welcome move. The centre has amended the maternity benefit bill. Now, mothers across India will get an extended paid 26 weeks maternity leave. This, in fact, is a big relief for mothers across India from the existing 12-week leave that working women avail. Another important benefit that will be implemented soon as per the amended bill, establishment with more than 50 employees to provide for creche facilities.
In a move that will benefit lakhs of women employed in the organized sector, the Parliament has passed the Maternity Benefit Amendment Bill on Thursday. Remember that this bill was passed by the Rajya Sabha in August last year. The bill will soon become a law after the President signs it. According to this bill, the number of maternity leaves are now being increased from 12 weeks to 26. This means that any woman who is pregnant can nurture their child being at home for 26 weeks while she gets a paid leave from work. In fact, according to this bill, the law will also apply to establishments employing 10 or more people, and the entitlement will be for the first 2 children. For the third child, the entitlement will be for 12 weeks. This law will also apply to any woman who is legally adopting a child under 3 months of age.
On The Big Story, we're joined in by Gopal Krishna Agarwal, spokesperson of the BJP, and K. Sudarshan, managing partner, EMA Partner India. I welcome both of you to this conversation. Mr. Agarwal, let me come to you first. This is great news for mothers across India. From what we've seen before, 12 weeks to 26 weeks, that's a huge leap.
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Agarwal, my question to you is this, that this
Hello.
is... Can you hear me, Mr. Agarwal? Yeah. My question to you is simply this. This is great news for
it is
women across
breaking.
India.
Yeah, it's a very big news, and we are happy that it is part of the, it has come on the International Women's Day, near to the International Women's Day. It is a major step toward empowering of the women, and at the same time having a healthy population child in the future. I think it's a landmark judgment on the part of women empowerment and better health for the child and future generations of the country.
Also, Mr. Agarwal, tell me this, how does the government plan on implementing this and how quickly can we see this rolled out?
Now it is it was passed in the Rajya Sabha some 6 months back. Now it has been passed in the Lok Sabha. We hope, and with the Maneka Gandhi herself so enthusiastic on this budget, and PM himself today tweeting that it's a landmark judgment. The implementation in the organized sector where it has been implemented will not be a difficulty. I hope in the bill itself there is a provision that the women workers will have to be created awareness of their rights from the organization itself. And when there are debates like this in the channels, when there are awareness campaign by the government, and the requirement of creating awareness and educating the women workforce in the organization, it will definitely create a ecosystem where this has to be implemented very fast. After this passing, it will easily be signed by the president and it will be implemented.
Fair enough. I'll also bring in K. Sudarshan into the conversation. But before that, very quickly, Mr. Agarwal, tell me this. This bill is mostly catered to the organized sector. What about the unorganized sector? About 90% of women fall in that category.
Yeah, this is one of the concern that this has to be, there is a large category of women workforce which are being left out of this implementation under the umbrella of this bill. But you have to create an awareness and a consensus among the people. If it is implemented in a manner as it is pushed only by the government laws and regulations, it may, as has been apprehended by some people, that it may become counterproductive for the women employment of creating employment for the women workforce. Organizations may shy away from employing women. So the government is moving ahead in a stepped manner that they are implementing it in the organized sector. When it is implemented in organizations which are having more than 10 employees in their organization, then in addition it is required that organizations which have 50 employees, they have to create crutch facilities. So those things will be created when it is more acceptable in the society. More people come to accept it as a part of their organization, then it can be extended to other unorganized sectors also. But it is an important step towards major steps towards this better health for the child of the country. So
right.
It will, I think the government will look into those sectors which have been left out.
Right. Perhaps government will look into those sectors that have been left out. Sudarshan, tell me this at this point in time, from an employer's perspective. This, of course, is great news for women across India, for mothers across India. But will this move, you think, will be counterproductive from an employer's point of view? What impact will this have on companies? Will they now shy away from employing women, you think?
See, firstly, this is a magnificent, and a historic step which the government has taken. So no two questions about it. And somewhere there has to be a start. Okay, but I have a couple of concerns on this. One is that, as you mentioned, and Mr. Agarwal also mentioned about whether this could become a counterproductive move, we'll have to wait and see, because the key will be to whether organizations will implement this in the by the letter and spirit. So I think that's important thing. Unsaid biases could creep in when it comes to hiring of women in a particular age bracket, if you may will. So that is this is something which we'll have to wait and see, because somewhere I was alerted about some statistics in EU about saying how the number of women have actually come down in the workforce, thanks to the extended maternity benefits. So these are some things which we'll have to watch out for. And the other aspect, second thing is, I'm also a bit concerned about the ability of smaller organizations. When you're saying organizations which are, so India is the land where there are a lot of entrepreneurs. We have very small organizations which employ 10 to 12 people and 15 people and so on. So what is the business impact on those organizations because of these regulations? So that is the other aspect, and whether the government will step in terms of to provide any additional benefit to those organizations, or perhaps a tax break when it comes to these maternity benefits. That would be a big boost to this entire bill. I think the government should consider this aspect while you are actually getting this implemented in smaller organizations. So I think...
No, but my question to you was also, what's going to run through the minds of employers while employing women, considering that now they will probably take half a year leave, if at all, they're expecting.
Yeah. So, coming back to this point, so we've also seen, in other markets where these long extended maternity benefits are there, the pay gap is also increased between the women and their male counterparts in the organization. So, And secondly, I think we've seen, by our experience, we've seen that even though today on paper, today that there is 12 weeks of maternity benefit, but what organizations do to their valued employees, in the sense people, good performers and so on, organizations have actually extended this on their own. So this is pretty much happened so far. So we'll have to wait and see the overall impact of this. But if you like to summarize, I think this is a good first step. And Mr. Agarwal also mentioned about the unorganized sector, which is going to be the real challenge in terms of how the government will move into that area and see how to facilitate this.
A step in the right direction indeed. Mr. Agarwal, tell me this, like Sudarshan was pointing out, this could impact smaller organizations as well. But is the government drawing up a plan to monitor, to ensure that organizations don't flout these routes?
This has been moved by not by the women ministry, it has been moved by the labor ministry. So I think along with the other regulations that the labor ministry monitors, this will also help, this will also be monitored through the same channels, and ultimately this will be only
penalty
be implemented, monitored through the
Mr. Agarwal,
employees'
what will the
awareness.
penalty
That is very important. No, ultimately, when there is a condition requirement of giving this leave, so that that provisions, I don't know actually what is there a provision for a penalty for non-compliance, but ultimately, when there is a mandatory requirement, definitely the organizations will have to do it. And the another aspect that we should just mention is, I would like to mention is, that it is also incentivizing the somewhere the population check, that is also that if you, this is benefit is available only for the first two surviving children, and if there is any third, the benefit will not go through. So this is an important measure of incentivizing the population control. And another aspect is that it is available for the surrogacy parents also, where they are adopting the child. Even then this benefit is being extended, at least 12 weeks benefit is extended. So I think it's a comprehensive bill, and this will be monitored to the labor ministry, which in itself is very strong on monitoring the compliances of labor laws and reforms. So this will be well monitored.
Right, Mr. Agar, Sudarshan, you had a point to make.
So the other, there has also been, we've been talking about this, internally, and also with a few other people in the industry. So there has been there is a view that also the, the burden, I don't want to call it a burden again, but the responsibility of raising a child should be shared equally with the father as well. And there is a demand for a paternity leave, which is, if not for 26 weeks, or it should be even at least for say for 12 weeks, so that you are actually trying to equalize, and then the woman and the man in sharing the responsibility of raising a newborn, and hence, if you do this as well, then somewhere the gap in the career, or there is what should I say, the organizations will in any case will not kind of, there will not be bias in hiring women as opposed to a man, or the vice versa.
While we're on that topic, in fact, let me also ask Mr. Agarwal this. Sudarshan had a very fair point to make. India lags behind when it comes to paternity leave when compared to the rest of the countries, but we rank third for maternity leave, which is great news that now it's been increased to 26 weeks. But is there anything being done for this, Mr. Agarwal?
No, what I want to mention here is any kind of social security schemes like this, which benefit the common man or the poor sections or the vulnerable sections of the society, there is a cost to the other organizations and other things. When the government moves in this direction, it has to be very carefully treat this path, because if it is very good that we announce those things and implement them, but the cost, who will bear them, and how much the cost can be absorbed by the commercial organization, that also has to be kept in mind, and their mindset has to change slowly and steadily. So I think we should move in a step-by-step manner.
So are you saying that the government will consider this as well going forward? Are you saying that the government will also consider this going forward?
Or consider a tax break, perhaps?
The basic concept of this bill says that it is the combined responsibility, bearing of a child and rearing of that child is a responsibility of, it's a joint responsibility, and even the society also has a responsibility in the future generations.
Okay, Sudarshan, one more thing now.
The preamble of the bill talks of this.
Yeah, another concern, of course, is to ensure that women who take that 6-month break come back and the kind of status, the kind of designation, the kind of payment, all of those things are quite secure. So as an employer, how is an employer going to make sure that these things don't, alter when they come back?
See, these things can't be, I mean, that is where I said it has to be by letter and spirit, because you can't ensure these things on paper, and no law can ensure this. So it's about the organization's intent. And I think, if you look at it, there are a number of rankings in terms of best organization for women to work and so on and so forth. So if the organization is not, doesn't honor this bill in terms of letter and spirit, obviously the employer friendliness for women the rankings will drop, and then lesser number of women will choose to work in this organization. But at the same time, I think organizations also have to keep in view the commercial interests, and the smaller the organization, the more difficult to implement this. I mean, that's my limited take.
So it's very difficult to say whether the organization is discriminating or not. And Mr. Agarwal, tell me this then, is there a redressal system for women that you will be looking at, perhaps when women go and say that, this organization is clearly discriminating and I've done my best and I'm not getting what I want?
So ultimately, these kind of issues are where we have a society structure where social responsibility is part of the society also. Everything cannot be implemented through the government rules and regulations. There will be loopholes, there will be misuse, or there will be counter claims. All these things create sometimes more disputes than resolves the dispute. So I think we have women cells, then we have commissions which work for the women and child welfare ministries there. So these things have to be, they are all will be taken care of, but ultimately these kind of laws are as a guiding principle. They are where the society has to in itself take initiatives, because government has a role to the enacting laws, but proper implementation in letter and spirit is with the responsibility of the commercial organizations, societies, the people working, co-employees, co-colleagues of those organizations. They are all required to work towards success of this whole issues that has to take care. Even we have seen exploitation in the families. So these kind of issues crop up, but these ministries and the monitoring system, there cannot be a separate monitoring for every bill. It is from the ministry, I think, which will look into these issues.
Fair enough, but a step in the right direction indeed. Let's also listen into a couple of reactions coming in on this story.
काफ़ी अच्छा है, उनको नुकसान भी नहीं होगा, और इस टाइम पे तो जो ज़रूरत है लेडीज़ की उसके लिए पैसे भी चाहिए रहते हैं, तो काफ़ी अच्छा है. गवर्नमेंट ने काफ़ी अच्छा डिसीजन लिया है, ये होना चाहिए. बढ़िया डिसीजन है गवर्नमेंट का, जिससे जो मदर होगी वो ज़्यादा टाइम स्पेंड कर पाएगी अपनी बेबी के साथ, अच्छी तरह केयर होगी. At least they are started looking up for the development, for the welfare of the woman, and it's good for the development of a child, because this is the time when the brain develop and the child needs total attention of the mother.
In fact, we have Mr. Agarwal of the BJP and K. Sudarshan with us on the conversation. Now, Mr. Agarwal, let me come to you with this. One of the key points and a very good point that's been brought about in this bill is that every establishment with 50 or more employees must provide creche facilities within a prescribed distance. So how is the government going to ensure that each and every organization with 50 or more people going to have this creche?
No, the government is giving a guidance or a rules and regulations. The government, if we put it everything in the monitoring mechanism in the hands of the government or the inspectors, it will create an inspector Raj. We don't think any kind of inspector, we have seen how Industrial Dispute Act and other things have harmed the laborers at many places. So this has to come through a system where monitoring and their implementation has to be from the society or the colleagues or the organization or awareness of the employees themselves. If you ask the government to monitor these small things and everything, then it may become very difficult to implement these kind of schemes. Government has come out with a bill which is a guiding principle, which has a legal sanctity. If those are not monitored, there are organizations, Women Commission, Women Ministry for Women and Child Welfare, then there are court laws, everything. Those mechanisms are already there.
Right.
I don't think there is need of a separate monitoring organization. It will not
fair enough. Sudarshan, this concerns me. This point concerns me. Mr. Agarwal saying that perhaps the government cannot make sure that there is a monitoring a system where they will monitor to make sure that organizations implement this. That is a big concern, because then there are more chances of organizations flouting it.
So in the organized sector, at least when it comes to public limited companies and so on, maybe there can be an addition to the, in their annual report filings in terms of what they have done and disclosures and so on. But I think the larger concern is for, these kind of laws when they come into place. It is about, you don't want more complications in the ease of doing business, because there is one more layer of inspections which happen in organizations. So that is something which is probably a worry for a lot of these smaller organizations.
Okay. In fact, we also spoke to the BJP MP Meenakshi Lekhi earlier today. Listen in.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I think my heartiest congratulations to all the working women who at times delay their family, starting their family, and who find it very hard to cope with work and family responsibilities. I think it's a very, very empowering step to empower the society by letting women perform their duties, at the same time look after the family and well-being of the babies. The child doesn't see whether you are a natural born or you are an adopted child. A child needs looking after, and a child needs adjustment. And I think more adjustments are needed if the child is adopted and is of a certain age. More work is needed around that emotional well-being. So I think it's a fantastic move. And it will deliver a lot of value to the society. And I think I must, not because it's my government, our government, who we've all worked for and voted for, but I think it's Government of India which has done a fantastic job under the leadership of our Prime Minister. I think it's a fantastic work.
Okay, we have Mr. Agarwal and Sudarshan with us as well. Sudarshan, I'm quickly running out of time, just about 2 minutes left on the show. Tell me this, as your closing comments, you mentioned earlier that a paternity leave, perhaps benefits for male counterparts could also help, decreasing the discrimination. But what do you think are the major concerns, and how do they need to be addressed?
So I think the industry at large, I think people have welcomed the step, while there are concerns on implementation in organizations and how it will be monitored. And I think whether the concern is whether unsaid biases will creep into into the whole the recruitment itself. So that is again something. These are the major challenges in terms of implementing this. But I think in general this is a great move, and we'll at least there is a start somewhere to ensure that women are given an equal footing in organizations and they don't lose out in their long-term career.
Mr. Agarwal, do you also believe that it's left to the organizations to implement this? Because in that case, we have no way to find out how they're implementing and who's implementing, who's not.
So at least government should monitor on but initial phases, I think more awareness is to be created as an initiative from the society side of it, and educating about to the women employees about their rights in itself will empower them and will help them, and their help from the colleagues will increase this awareness. We welcome this landmark bill. It will strengthen the women workforce and will give them more opportunity to work, because this bearing of child was one hindrance where women used to relinquish their jobs. So this is one area where they can now continue working and take part in economic activities. It's very important. Though there are some more areas like unorganized, paternity leave, then how implementation, monitoring, this the government will do in the phased manner. Definitely these are the concerns which government is in itself is aware of. Therefore it will take care of these things. But it's a very big landmark step which will help our society, particularly women and child, in their future life.
Right, I thank you both for joining us in this conversation, but a couple of concerns, of course, remain. One is, of course, what will happen to women in the unorganized sector? What will happen to implementing this and monitoring it to make sure that organizations don't flout? A lot of concerns, but it's a step in the right direction. With that, it's a wrap here on The Big Story. Stay with Magic Bricks now.